About 6 people. Yeah. I don't have them. We'll go ahead and call the meeting of the Finance Committee together for May. Do have a quorum. I thought we have one out there.
Scott is coming.
Yeah. And of course, I do not have my pen. I'll lay it down. Andrew, you have that?
She laid over here.
First item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from April 4th meeting. That's pages 1 through 2.
Motion to approve minutes.
Motion approved by Commissioner Wiseman. Second by Commissioner Schultz. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Moves us to number 2, sales tax report for March 24. That's page 3.
Motion received.
Motion received and filed, Mr. Curry. Second by Commissioner Wiseman. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 3 is the trustees' interest report, April 24. That's page 4.
Motion received.
Motion received and filed by Mr. Curry. Second by Commissioner Schultz. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 4, financial records report for March and April 24. That's pages 5 through 14. You back?
I make a motion.
Motion approved by Commissioner Wiseman. Second by Commissioner Eldridge. Any further discussion? I'm sorry, Steve. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Number 5 on the agenda is third quarter financial report, county highway school funds, page 15 through 21.
The one stapled together is the schools.
Anything of uniqueness in here, Andrew?
Not really. You know, the county, of course, we've got a lot of large grants that look like the TDEC that we haven't expended into, so that's why the revenue budgeted seems a little low. Other than that, on that sales tax, you could see we were, what was it, over for the month and just a slightly under, like 13,000 under for the year. So
Motion received.
Motion received and filed by Mr. Curry. Second by Commissioner Wiseman.
still dealing with the sales tax issue with Deckard.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 6 on the agenda is intercategory amendments, November through April, pages 22 through 24.
Received, pal.
Motion received and filed by Mr. Curry. Second by Commissioner Schultz. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 7 brings us to capital project updates. That's pages 25 through 27. There will be, one I can tell you about there, so will be a final walkthrough, I believe it's next week, with Alex Hawkins from Empire Roofing, the train project for the roof of this building. So they've actually been through a couple of weeks or more, but we'll do the final walkthrough, make sure everything's good, then they're done. The windows for the courthouse will be in probably early to mid-September, I believe is what they said. And we got a meeting with them about that, I think tomorrow. I've got so much going on, but Because what we need to explain to them, we don't need them in the trustee's office during tax time, so that's October, so we need to get them where they work that around within basically the right place at the right time. So those are the capital projects that I know we have coming out.
Andrea, in all of these, the red's what we spent, the blue is budgeted. Does it balance out? Is there anything left?
Yeah, there are some items like, the animal control building, if you look at the,
Okay. Yeah, but that's basically committed. Is there any uncommitted funds in here?
there's 800,000 for the, that the commission approved for broadband expansion. When we had the RFPs and the 3 companies came and did their presentations. Well, they didn't do grant awards, the state didn't. In the first year, they ended up giving money to TDEC, I think, and they put it off a year. So that's hanging out there in fund balance.
We did get an answer about that, by the way. I meant to tell you that. What the information I got was now that United and Ben Logan have both been awarded part of that state money for the broadband expansion, any match back to the grant that will be the responsibility of United or Ben Logan, not us.
Okay,
That's what I was talking.
so that's
Good.
freed up. That's awesome.
So we've got $800,000 of those ARC funds.
Yes. You do need to take into consideration though that, when we first started this, the county mayor at the time, we had, and I was in those meetings too, had heard that we were gonna get 2 rounds of money, of the 438,000 that they sent out the second time from the governor's money. Well, they ended up not giving it to us the next year. They ended up taking that money and giving it to TDEC. So that's 438,000 that we were counting on that we ended up not getting. But if we don't have to give that 800,000, we came out ahead.
So how many strings are attached to that 800,000?
None now,
None now.
yeah.
So that's just in the fund balance, and it's free to spend on whatever we want to spend it on.
From what the mayor just said, yes, sir.
Okay, that's a good thing.
We did, we had the animal control funds that were committed, let's see, I think they were out of 2 different pots of money. But, and the trustee and I are working on the interest on these. I need to get back with you on that. So, let's see. Yeah, on the governor's direct money, you dedicated funds for the animal control. And
But
then,
that's not part of the 800,000.
right,
Okay.
right.
Okay.
So this $825,000 match on that first page, on page 25, we can just cross through that.
Okay, as long as there's no strings of time attached to it or a timetable attached to it, then it's just money in the fund balance.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
We were gonna make the match for the animal control, that $500,000 match out of this governor's direct funds. We've got 438,000 left of that. The library project came in a little bit more. The ambulance site project, not the library, because the library picked up the difference. But the ambulance site project ended up being a little bit more. So, not a lot,
So we're 60,000 short on that.
but interest helped on that. So I think it'll come out to be a wash.
Motion to receive file.
Motion received and file by Mr. McCurry. Second by Commissioner Schultz. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Here at number 8 and 9, if you look at the agenda, I think probably in the interest of expediency and putting it all together, if you look down at 18 and 19, if we could just move those under, I guess under 9. And make them,
All the school resolutions.
and do all the school resolutions together. So it'd be 8 and then 9 and then 9C and 9D is how those are numbered.
Yeah, so it'd be pages 28 to 31, and then in the back, there's two amendments that I added to the back of your packet, but yours is in that.
So that puts all that together.
Yeah.
Everybody get what I'm saying?
So the two, right,
There's A, B,
Eight,
C,
nine, eight,
and
nine.
D,
Yes, ma'am.
school budget amendments. Two went through in April after finance committee met, and then two will go to the May school board meeting, so.
Make a motion to combine all the school budget amendments and approve.
second,
Motion approved by Commissioner McCurry, second by Commissioner, I'm sorry, by Commissioner McCurry, second by Commissioner Wiseman. Any discussion or questions? All in favor say aye. Motion carries. Number 10, resolution highway budget amendment. That's pages 32 through 33.
I'll make the motion.
Motion approved by Commissioner Wiseman. Second by Dr. Holman. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 11, resolution amend the county general AS to BCIF grant.
This is being amended to allow for a carryover beginning July 1.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Mr. McCurry. Second by Commissioner Schultz. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is resolution budget amendment for county general B funds. That's pages 35 through 39.
This is a big cleanup. It's just a cleanup amendment. We're adding $120,000 back into, 120,000, yeah, that's what I said, it's our entire, back into fund balance. And just cleaning up some payroll lines. One thing, the way we've always operated is not necessarily how our resolution, our appropriation resolution has been, and it kind of puts us in a bind, especially at year end. The way our appropriation resolution reads, I can't do an amendment like to move money from medical insurance to retirement, or from retirement to overtime, like, and the biggest issue probably is the sheriff's, you know, we just don't know what's gonna happen, when it's gonna happen kind of thing. Most of the office, you know, regular office is pretty easy to determine. So, we have to have those all approved by the county commission. And when I first came in, I guess I didn't realize it read that way, finance committee, you know, I've never done a budget amendment intercategory that would increase the budget for the next year. But say if Billy had part-time people and he had a full-time person that was out, and I would move money from that full-time position into part-time to cover that, you know, that's just what we've always done. And it never affected the next year's budget. And that's how we've always operated, but the way our resolution reads currently, any amendment that has to do with the payroll lines, I have to bring to you guys. So that is something I'd like for y'all to consider. I've never made an amendment that would increase the budget the next year, because I have a directive. And we could set our policies and the finance policies to state that specifically, but it would be nice if we, you know, a lot can happen between June 16th and June 30th. Especially with highway and the sheriff's
So we can
office.
set, what you're saying is we can set a policy to alleviate you having to do it every time you have to do an intercategory budget amendment.
Yeah, and you would still have to sign all the county ones, and you would sign the school, and you would sign the highway ones. We'd still have to get those department head signatures, and then I would be verifying it, you know.
So that's something we could put to legislative in
Yeah.
June and then bring.
Or we could just change it in the appropriation resolution. That's where it states it.
Okay.
But I could fix it in the finance policies and bring it back to you if that does get approved to alleviate that.
Sounds like it's just a time saver.
It is. And we
I
have
would
had
say if you're
meetings
gonna
on
do
June
something that's gonna
30th.
increase the budget, you'd probably let us know.
Yeah, we have had some, you know, emergency meetings on June 30th to get things, you know,
Yeah.
but that's, It's around July 4th, and a lot of people are around.
So that's kinda like what we sent you last week, we were trying to clean up, was it? You're talking
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Chair would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion approved by Commissioner Wiseman,
Second.
second by Mr. Curry. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 13 is a resolution to amend the library.
Same
That
thing.
is page 40.
It's just to clean up.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Mr. McCurry,
Second.
second by Commissioner Schultz. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 14, the resolution to amend solid waste. That's page 41.
Same thing.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Mr. McCurry, second by Dr. Holman. Any further discussion?
It's a good thing some of our fees are coming back up.
All in
so.
favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Fees are coming back up today.
Mhm.
Resolution to amend the debt service, that's page 42.
I'm amending this, we haven't started making payments on the school EESI loan yet. We should probably around July, so I'm reducing the budget to account for that. And the highway fund, the auditor is showing that debt service payment just coming from highway, and I had it set up where the highway would reimburse the debt service fund. So I'm amending that to fix it how she's showing it, so.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Mr. McCurry. Second by Commissioner Schultz. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 16 is a resolution for a multi-year contract with Flat Earth Communications. That's page 43 through 45.
This is the managed network services for consolidated communications.
Motion approved by Commissioner Wiseman. Second by Dr. Hogan. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 17 is a resolution grant application to litter grant, page 46 through 51. Motion approved by Commissioner Schultz. Second by Mr. McCurry. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 20 is an add-on to resolution. I'm doing this right. Multi-year contract between the library and waste management. If it's a multi-year contract, we have to approve them. Each one. That's what that's about. I think they wanted to go from a dumpster to.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Mr. Curry. Second by Commissioner Schultz. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to 21, the county clerk's budget request FY25.
She's gonna be out of town, that last week. I'm not jealous at all. So she would like to get her budget. I will say, in that finance column, I'm showing the 3.2% and then what the state mandated is for the county official. And then so you can see what her total requested is. And she is in a need to replace computers, or scanners and signature pads. She has a revenue code that I have to track that sets up a reserve. So she's got the funds to cover this $20,000. It would just be taken from a reserve, but we have to put it, in the budget for her to be able to do that. So let you know that.
Is it my time to pick on Tina?
Absolutely.
If you would.
Yeah. Well, it's somewhat of a pleasure, to be honest. Some of your line items you're increasing quite a bit. This is gonna be a tight time. We don't need to be increasing if we don't have to.
I think on the jail side, to answer your question, we've had an increase in population, increase in cost. I know we do specifically in medical off the top of my head.
Actually, I was talking to Tina.
Yeah. we're
I haven't
not-
seen your budget.
Tina's.
Oh, Tina, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, we're talking about,
She's in the hot seat.
I'm an equal opportunity critic.
I thought you said Tina.
We need to eat, okay?
Huh? Yeah. I mean, Tina, we don't know until we see the whole thing. We don't have a good feel for what we're gonna be facing. The indication is that it's gonna be very tight overall, and that anything we increase, you've almost gotta say, even if we cover it out of a fund balance, it's a recurring cost, it's a tax increase. You've almost gotta look at it. If you don't, then we're just postponing the inevitable. So when I look here and I say, and I don't have a clue what goes into these numbers, but when I see changing, for example, office supplies from doubling it almost, you know, there needs to be a very strong justification for doing it, and there may well be. And I don't know that tonight we can dig into it to that degree, but those things that you're increasing quite a bit, like the BIS, and I don't know.
That's my contract.
Yeah, I don't, is that driven
I would
by,
fire them if I could.
well,
That's-
I might help you, I don't know. But if it's driven by a contract, that's one thing.
Yeah.
If it's not driven by a contract, that's another thing. So to increase the per diem for orientation and things like that, we just need to be as prudent as we can be until we see the big picture. And you going first, the big picture is totally vague right now. I would suggest that instead of us trying to beat through it here this early, not knowing what the big picture look like, that those things that you're increasing like that, you know, 10, 20, 30%, you know, big percentages, that you may write down, you know, what's driving that change? What is it? Is it a contract-driven requirement? Is it just for insurance, just in case? I think we're gonna need to understand that before we get through this whole process. And not just you, for everybody. The sheriff is starting to try to tell us. We're gonna have to understand that from everybody. Because if revenue falls below the cost, I don't know how we're gonna deal with that. It might not be, you might deal with it through the fund balance. But we're gonna have to deal, you do that, you gotta pay the piper somewhere down the road. So any increase, I'd just like to understand that more. If you can tell us now, that's fine, it's up to the group. If we wanna stay and listen to that level of detail, I don't care. Or you can.
Well, one thing that does help her is she's got that, it's by state legislator, there's a couple of revenue accounts, like the one that we just approved for Denise, that's set up that every month when they collect that, at the end of the year, I have to tally that. And they did that, so like, you know, she's got computers to replace, that she can draw upon that money instead of using county fund balance.
Yeah, well, when you say
So-
computers, it was 20,000 this year, but it was only, I'm not wrong. Yeah, 20,000 in the budget, right?
Yes.
But it was 20,000 last year as well. So I mean, that's no change, and it's covering that, that's cool. But if we're gonna replace the chairs, we just need to make sure that it's something that, not a feel-good thing, that it's really required. We're gonna make some very hard choices, very, very hard. And we need to make them fairly for everybody. That's on. So if the rest of the group wants to hear the details right here, that's fine. I'm just saying, we just can't approve each one individually if they're all adding money, because at the end, we're not gonna be able to afford it.
So do we wanna look at hers in the June finance meeting? Or, I mean, since she's not gonna be here, I mean, she can, you know, I guess she could get us some information.
It's a little unlucky to go first because everything's so up in there.
Yeah.
It's a little difficult. I don't know, what's the rest of it? Maybe I'm off base.
I'll be at a conference that week also.
Well, it's gonna be the same thing with just about every budget.
Yeah.
And that's, it's like David's saying, we're gonna have to decide some things like that because things have gotten more expensive. Equipment's gotten more expensive, supplies have gotten more, that's all. So I anticipate this not being out of the norm for a budget that we see come this year. So we're just gonna have to decide, you know, I think at the end, the total, what's it gonna cost versus what we have, and that's gonna be the big decision. Then don't forget about the raises.
Well, when you look at postage, for example, it's 67 cents now, it's going to 74. Okay, I just mailed out delinquent notices in March. We brought in about, what did I tell you, Andrew, 600, almost 700,000 from mailing those delinquent notices out.
Right.
But I've got to increase my budget because postage
You
went
have
up.
to mail them, yeah.
Do you
Oh, I
not want me to
understand.
mail them anymore? And then that's money we won't be collecting.
Right.
So there's, you know,
Yeah, that's driven by a contract in essence. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. We just gotta look at things from, is it discretionary, or is it non-discretionary? I think that's a better way of saying it, and it's not obvious when you look at these things. So how are we gonna get there to make those kind of judgments?
Yeah, and, you know, we have a lot of employees, we've got, some programs like the CLCTP program, the County Officials Training Certificate Program. You know, that the policy is that once they've been a full-time employee for 3 years, they qualify to register for that. And get that benefit once they get that certification, and then, you know, that's an increase, there's.
And I have 3, in this,
Yeah.
coming up budget.
And I think we just need to understand that, and you can't just from numbers.
Right.
And so maybe you're the guinea pig here, and that's okay.
Well,
That's
maybe,
okay.
you know, I may need to provide more information than what, you know, I'm requesting back from them. Sometimes just what's out there in that little line there might not be sufficient enough, yeah.
So what we're probably looking at is a motion to table this into the June Finance Committee meeting, is that what I mean?
Or until we get the combined budget.
That sounds good.
Well, we're gonna have more than,
Yeah,
you know, we've got two budget meetings in May, the 21st and the 23rd. I'm sure there'll be another one at least.
you just off that, you on that week. You mind doing that, coming back after you get back?
Do what?
You mind presenting
No.
yours again when you get
Yeah,
back?
I can do that.
So
Right now, we don't have I said, this is a question, we don't really have a good handle on what the total revenue is gonna be.
No.
So we're kind of flying blind, but we're gonna do that. It's natural. But again, being the first one, before we know that, it's kind of tough. I'd recommend that we let her come back when she comes back. We'll have more budget meetings.
so we really don't have to have anything. Okay.
Well, we, you know, that Thursday night, if we didn't get done, you could, what do you do? What do you call that?
Not adjourn,
Recess.
Yeah,
Recess,
recess,
there you
and
go.
come back like the next Tuesday.
yeah, if you don't adjourn, you don't have to announce the meeting.
So that moves us on to number 22, which is the Finance Director of Business.
I did want to bring this to your attention. The federal rate for a salaried position beginning January 1st has increased that minimum rate. It affects, you know, a couple of different type positions. One of them is, it doesn't affect very much, so I don't think that that'll be much of an issue with you guys when we go to look at that budget. The other is significant, and it's with the judicial commissioners. They're salaried, and it would mean over $10,000 each.
Well, do I understand it right? What they did, they raised the minimum amount, the minimum salary, which you have to be above that not to get overtime. I think that's what it is.
They set a threshold of what,
Right,
But it's for a salaried position, it's not for overtime.
no. But I think I'm right though. I think if you make less than that salary, you have to be paid overtime,
Yeah,
right? So what we're saying, this question, aren't we saying that if they make less than that now, then they're going to start getting paid overtime?
I don't think you wanna go there.
or we raise their salary to the threshold.
Or you put them back on hourly where they really should be. That's a structural problem, that's
Yeah.
not a pay problem.
Yeah. You know, they have been hourly. They've been salary twice, they've been hourly. And it's,
Well, being on hourly eliminates what we're looking at.
yes.
And I'm not trying to cut anybody out, but now, I've been down there and I know, I don't see the need for that to be a salary position. They don't supervise anybody, what they do is they write warrants and make bonds, set the bonds. So if you won't pay them for a 10 or 12 hour shift, that's fine. But then if they go home and they come back in, they get paid, or if they don't get paid. It's just like an investigator being on call, it's no difference. If you work, you get paid, if you don't, you don't. Now, why that's not fair, I don't know. Why we feel like they gotta be on salary and make $58,000 a year just to be able to receive a phone call.
When they changed it, they justified by stating that they made independent judgment. But, you know,
They make them to the, well, I'm not. The judge is the one that really, I mean, if it gets to be like that, but, and that's fine. And they do have to make some judgments, but that's the problem with this, is their salary not hourly.
and they're just odd positions because they don't stay at the workplace. You know, they're not like firemen where they stay there that whole shift. They come from
They come and
home,
So they're on call.
if they're called.
Oh,
And they get a call, and they have to go down there, right? And they go down there, and it takes 3 hours, and they're back on, they're still on call. And what you're saying if they were hourly, they'd just be paid for the time spent on the job.
Well, you pay them for a shift, say it's 10 hours. Or 8 hours, or however you want to structure that.
Even if they don't get any call.
Yeah, they have to be available.
Okay.
Then they go home, just at the end of a workday. If they get called and have to come back in, then they just clock back in, just like a deputy sheriff or a highway guy or anybody else would do. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What he's done since Judge Stewart's taken office, there is a judicial commissioner of the jail during the day. The guys that are on night shift are on call. So if they get called out, we'll arrest somebody and have to have them on whatever. And the hourly, and Andrea held it to the wall, we've been there salary once upon a time, hourly. Used to they work 24 hours shifts. Now they're working 12. But I think the hourly is the most appropriate way to handle it. You got a 12-hour shift, this is what your wage is per hour. I think it's the most sensible way to handle it. They may disagree with the commissioners, I don't know. When you think about salary, we did do this many years back, and I with the sheriff's office, with Fair Labor Standards, you've got to have somebody that is a supervisor 90% of the time. 90% of their work is supervision, and a high-ranking official to be able to justify a salary according to Fair Labor Standards. Otherwise, you got to pay people higher wage and overtime. That would be the case. So anyway, I'll shut up. So.
Unintended consequences.
But I think that's something we really need to look at. That it's better. If they're hourly, it's better. I know.
I will say, if you kept them on salary and they made overtime that would create a whole nother issue.
Yeah.
That would, you know, spotlight what the real issue is anyway. But, you know,
I know the last
one's
time,
getting this, one's getting that.
I know the last time it was discussed, and keep in mind, I don't, yes, I say these guys, I'm glad they did what they do, but one of them spoke to you guys, said they made $9 an hour. I don't see that, I'm sorry. You know, $9 an hour, I don't think so. But anyway, That's,
Well, they're counting all the.
Well, when they went from salary,
Well, that's not fair,
To
because what
hour.
they're saying is we work 24 hours a day and we make this and the
Yeah.
back and that.
When they went-
24.
That's
the way
not
their
necessarily-
schedule was,
That's not
when
necessarily.
Judge Ferris came to me, he said, look, I want them to make at least this. So I had to sit down and look at their schedule, they're working 24-hour days. And figure out, okay, we can do that. This is what their rate would have to be, knowing that, you know, part, or overtime would make up that difference and that would get them to the pay. Their schedule is still the same, you know.
But you can't count on that
it-
because you don't know if you're gonna get called in or not.
Well, if they took a sick day.
If what?
If they took a sick day, well, they didn't get that overtime that week, or, you know, it's.
No. But that's not, I mean, you've got the ones that are there that are on the day shift that stay at the jail, correct?
Yes.
So if the issue is, well, if I'm on night shift, I might not get called out, so I'm not gonna get paid. Why don't they just stay at the jail?
Well,
Why are they going home?
there's not so many of them that's a problem. If you've got, say, 4 of them.
4 full-time and then
And
3.
it's Andrea's day to work and she gets through with her shift and I have to be available from 6 at night to 6 in the morning. That's what you call being on call. I may have to come back and work a regular shift Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make my money.
Yeah,
That what we're talking about is overtime.
yeah.
yeah.
So that's a scheduling issue. That's all that is. And that's, I'm not sheriff, I'll be quiet. But that's what, it's better hourly and it needs to be scheduled out.
Yeah,
No different than an EMT or a fireman or anybody else.
same deal.
When highway, if they come out at night, you know, there's a minimum rate that they're driving from home, there's a minimum rate they get paid. 3 hours. I couldn't remember what it was.
When's this going to affect?
January 1. But that's, again, I want y'all to be thinking of that.
How did that, what's the
And it
basis?
goes up again
Was it a?
next year.
Huh? Well, but he can't dictate what we do.
Federal government can dictate what we do.
I feel like I'm at home, I don't get finish the sentence. Andrew and I was talking, she knows what I'm gonna say before I say it.
We've been together a long time.
I thought all he could do was dictate how you treat federal employees.
No,
Federal everything.
Yeah,
Huh?
several.
federal labor standards affect every employee in the
I
world,
didn't know he could
in
change
the
it.
United States.
I didn't know he could change those
Yeah,
without Congress approval.
well, I guess Congress approved them.
It's like me, I'm in a 2-person department, and I oversee the second person in my department, but I'm hourly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
There's a test that you can take. There is a professional exemption, like, for instance, like Eric Van Zandt. If you're a professional administrator and, you know, there's nobody above you making your daily decisions and calls, and you have that discretion, then there is a professional exemption. And, you know, like Scott falls under that as well, as the EMA director, they put him that. They originally put a couple more people on there, but, you know, so there's a test you have to meet.
Yeah.
And you need to look at it real hard, because if you do get audited, and we know that you can get audited,
I've done that.
just because you mark that piece of paper, if it's not legitimate, you can have an issue.
That's just something I think we need to talk, that needs to be part probably of the budget process, because we need to, if we're gonna change, we need to do it before. Obviously, we get caught in the middle in January, so we need to do it before the new budget. If we're not, we'll leave it like it is, but we'll wish we had changed it. I do believe that.
Yeah, I'd rather get it over.
Okay, is there anything else?
Motion adjourned.
Motion adjourned by Mr. Perry,
second.
second by Mr. Loudon, all in favor, say
Everybody else
aye.
wants to
Aye.